Drink up. 5 minutes. Don't have to go home. You can't stay here.
Start the broadcast.
Actually, don't go home.
Don't go home.
And
the dog is even on a play date next door.
Oh, wow.
Ooh,
cool.
Doggy play date.
My dog just leaves.
It's so rainy here.
As soon as I start doing the show, he just goes upstairs.
Your dog's not as much of a stalker.
He's like, see ya. He used to be. He's 8 now, though.
Yeah. I can't believe
Can't stalk at that age.
I know.
They're just over you.
So, other thing that's different probably from last time is we have these little quick hits thingies before the talk
I saw.
Yeah, so
I like that.
That's like fast.
Okay.
We can have little one-line reactions and stuff we want.
Okay.
It's all good. Anything else?
Hold on, let me.
Not for me.
Move.
I'm excited. Thanks for letting me, dive bomb onto the show.
Oh, no, it was great. If anybody is expecting John Wolpert from IBM, we will have him on. But he was under the weather, so we had to reschedule. But he is excited to come on, so we will get him on a future Wednesday.
Molly, as always, is over the weather. So let's do this.
Fucking over.
Is that the opposite of under the weather?
I said a bad word to the patrons.
No, now we're live, actually, too.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I just said it to everyone. I whispered it.
You mean ducking? That's all you said, right? Yeah.
Yes, I did.
About
I
little
auto-corrected
ducks.
myself.
Little duckies.
Little duckies. I just saw 3 cute little duckies walking by coming home from school.
See?
The mom and she's got these 2 little kids, and they're all just like,
yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Daddy, why are they laughing? Good. And I don't know. We could just start. Seems like we're good.
All right.
Yeah. A couple minutes. We're good.
Everybody good?
Him on this rainy day. Yes, 1 second.
I go with the bus rules. Like the bus can come up to 5 minutes early of its posted time.
Oh.
I guess. But somebody's in a I tweeted already.
Not that it ever does, but yeah. As long as you tweet, everything's good. All right.
Can I just brag on my kid for like 2 seconds before I start?
Yeah, of course.
He just started taking this going to this official after school theater program. And he found out yesterday they got their assigned parts after last week they auditioned, and he's playing Aladdin in Aladdin. He got the lead. He's the star of the show, you guys.
Oh boy.
That's great.
So excited.
Well done.
You've created a monster.
I know.
In the best way. That's great.
Yeah.
Who's Jasmine?
Well, that's what I said. I was like, do you have to kiss a girl? And he's like, Jasmine is like a 2nd grader.
Yeah.
I was like, do you know that younger women will be a... And I was like, ew. I was actually hoping you'd be the...
When you find out who the girl is, you should look at her like a big tall mom and say, he will show you the world.
That's creepy AF.
Yeah.
That's so creepy.
Or I'm sorry, creepy AD.
His ducks. Yep.
All right. Oh my God. Okay. If you would like to start the actual show.
Here we go. Yeah, no, that's fine. We are still early. So yeah. Onward and upward. Here we go.
Hilarious.
Would you like someone to spend hundreds of hours a week reading tech news and tell you the best parts? Support Daily Tech News Show at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, February 8th, 2017. I'm Tom Merritt. Scott Johnson alongside, as he is most Wednesdays. How are you, Scott?
I'm good. Wednesdays are great. I love them, especially because our guest today is great, and we love her.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you were expecting John Wolpert from IBM to talk about the blockchain, that will still happen. Unfortunately, he was under the weather, so we rescheduled him, which made way for an amazing Molly Wood appearance, host of APM Marketplace's Make Me Smart and many other things. How's it going, Molly?
Surprise! Hello. Don't ask me any questions about blockchain.
We won't. We promise.
No one understands that except that IBM guy.
Exactly. That's why we need him to come on. We're going to talk about 5G today, which is almost as complicated as the blockchain in certain respects.
Seriously.
But like, what does it actually mean, and when will we actually get it? All that kind of stuff. And also going to revisit the topic of zero rating and net neutrality because Molly got to talk to Tim Wu recently.
I did. I'm really excited about that. It's half plug and half a chance to do all of the geeky conversation that I didn't exactly get to do on our podcast.
All right. Well, let's get to it. A couple of things before we get to the top stories. Elon Musk said on Twitter Wednesday he hopes to start selling Teslas in India this summer. Good news for you Indians, I suppose.
The E3 video game trade show will open its doors to the public this year. Its sheer size would have suggested that was happening before, but it was not. 15,000 public tickets will go on sale on February 13th, and they will start at $150 to try on all those gross VR headsets that everybody else has touched.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you're on today because it's someone to commiserate on that one issue. That is the data point I always come to when they open any video game stuff to the public. So there you go. Apple hired former head of Amazon Fire TV to be its head of Apple TV product marketing. We'll see what comes out of that.
Will it be? Oh, now I can't remember his name. The guy who did the Fire TV commercials. Will it be that guy? No, Joker would. Hey, lithium-ion battery maker Samsung SDI reported a minor fire broke out, and this is the part you won't hear in the headlines, in its waste depository in northern China. It was quickly extinguished. The factory didn't catch on fire from making Note 7 batteries, although it's probably likely that the waste depository was full of Note 7 batteries.
I'm just saying, it got the rejects.
Yeah. Now here are some more top stories. Google officially launched Android Wear 2.0 Wednesday. The LG Watch Sport and the LG Watch Style are the flagship devices. They'll launch February 10th with Android Wear 2.0. Your existing watches, at least several of them, will get the update in the coming weeks. New features include standalone apps, which helps you if you're not using an Android phone. You can still install apps from the Google Play Store on your watch and still use it with your non-Android phone. Usually it's an iPhone. Android Pay, so you can pay with the NFC chip in your watch. And Google Assistant, so you can talk to your watch and ask it questions just like you would with Google Home or with your phone. Android Wear also features a keyboard that uses predictive text, and TechCrunch, Engadget, and The Verge all said it works surprisingly well on a little watch.
I'm surprisingly surprised at anything like that working surprisingly well. But I do like the idea of it. And I also just like the idea that Google is, slowly chipping away at the wearable market. Nothing too crazy, nothing too insane, just nice changes, nice improvements. It's more and more a platform that I find myself interested in.
That was my most skeptical.
Yeah, give me
all of that sounds great, but not very mainstream. I'm just saying, where has the wearables market gone?
Yeah,
exactly. And Google made a big deal of a 70% jump in Android Wear sales in the holiday period, but that's a jump from a very small number to a slightly higher small number.
70 more people.
I mean, it's not quite that bad, but yeah, I mean, that's it is not yet there. None of these features in all of the reviews I read seemed like the big feature that's really going to make you go, oh, now I know why I need a watch. They are refinements. There's some cool things you can do with the watch faces as far as adding any kind of data from any app. So if you're already in the camp, these are great improvements that make the watches even more usable. But Molly, you hit on it. I don't know who's moving into the camp that isn't already there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wearing a Fitbit and I have no desire to move to anything else right now. They still have yet to offer me the killer app that'll make me jump and get interested. So we'll see if it's them or not. Pinterest launches Lens. That's right. L-E-N-Z or S rather. A search engine that uses machine learning to be able to look at real world objects through a smartphone camera. And then it finds similar stuff on Pinterest posts. The beta Lens tool is available in the Pinterest mobile app and is rolling out today in the US on Android and iOS. My wife is stoked.
Does Microsoft have to sue them now because it's basically HoloLens, but for Pinterest?
It doesn't do AR.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I think that sounds awesome, and I want that for all things in life, not necessarily to find them in Pinterest posts, but to find them anywhere. Like that sounds amazing.
Google has an app, right? And I haven't used it forever, but they had an app where part of maybe it's just part of the Google search app now, but on iOS, you could take a picture of an object and it would do its best to find out what that was and then give you places to buy that thing or places where it could be found or descriptions of what the thing is. And it never worked very well. This sounds like that to me.
I know. And then the question is how well it's going to work. Although I do think it solves probably one of the biggest barriers of Pinterest use, which is finding anything.
Well,
I feel like I'm being really negative today, and I don't mean to. It's just that it's super rainy, and I'm just mad.
yeah.
I don't want to be. But no, I mean that to be able to have a tool like that would allow you to get directly to the thing that you want to find on Pinterest is actually awesome, because I think Pinterest has a little bit of a usability issue. And if that works, I'm totally going to try it.
Well, and the idea of like, hey, I really like that sweater. What is it? Where did it come from? And I can
Right.
do link to that. That's the one they keep using. I was thinking about it for food. Could I look at a dish and say, hey, can I get, like I'm at a restaurant,
Find me a
like
recipe.
show me recipes that are similar to that. Like, I don't know if it's quite that good maybe, but that's what I use Pinterest
It is.
for.
What we're looking for
is
is
really
Shazam, right? We want Shazam
really-
for objects. That's what we're looking for.
Yes. Yeah. I want Shazam for everything. It is interesting that they're also using the sweater example, because I think that the buy button experiment for them has not been as successful as they hoped. Like, they really want to try to reframe Pinterest as a commerce platform, because that's how they're going to make more money in the future.
Well, and that's the other feature that they added today was easier shopping through Pinterest. So
Cha-ching.
yeah.
A company called Brilliant. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell that so loud into the mic, but
You
I
have
can't say
to.
it
That's
normal.
the name. That's why they named the company that.
Brilliant has developed a smart light switch for people who don't want to reach for their their phone every time they want to control a smart home device. The Brilliant Control is a small 5-inch 720p touchscreen tablet. It has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and it is meant to be installed in place of a light switch. You swipe up for on, down for off, right or left to control dimness. Tapping brings up other options for controlling music or other connected devices. And this is key, it includes Amazon voice services for voice control as well. Pre-orders start today. It's $199 with shipping scheduled for summer. And I just cannot get over the irony that we now have to introduce accessories for the smart home, because the smart home is so hard to use.
Well,
That
okay.
we're basically like, see, now I'm being such a negative Nelly again. But I just think it's hysterical, because I recently hooked all of my stuff up to my Amazon Echo, and now I'm like trying to tell it to turn the TV, and sometimes the TV won't come on unless I tell the Echo to do it. And the lamp thing, like, I still have to get the phone out to change the color on the lamp, and I'm just like, why am I doing this? This is so stupid.
I have a couple Life
I'm like
bulbs.
3 feet from the lamp.
I've had a couple of LifeX bulbs forever, and it is annoying. Like, it's nice when you're in the other room. You're like, oh, I forgot to turn off the light. No big deal. Grab the phone. I don't have to walk into the other room to turn it off. But a lot of the times you're like, I'm standing next to the light, and now I have to go over there and get my phone. And so, yeah, having smart
And
switches
unlock the phone
is great.
and find the app, and Yeah.
You can get dumb switches that are smart. And by that, I mean, they're just a switch that you can turn on and off, and it will save the state to your smart home device, so that it, the way I have it set up, I have just a dumb switch. And if I turn it off, it turns off power to the LifeX, which means that it no longer responds to the app anymore, which is why I can't just use the regular switch, right? Unless I just toggle it or whatever. But this goes beyond like saying, oh, we're not only going to save the state, we're going to be able to add other features. So it's really easy with the swiping to just turn it on and off. You don't have to think, just like a regular physical switch. But if you want to start your music, or like you said, the key, if you want to use voice control for things, you can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I want it. Don't get me wrong. I just think it's hilarious that it has to exist. Like,
Well,
we've
at $199.
by fixing a whole bunch of things that didn't need fixing, right? By solving a bunch of problems we don't actually have, we've now created a problem that now needs solving with a $200 smart switch. Like,
This is that
good job, consumerism.
that steep climb to the thing that eventually everybody uses, because they work all of this dumb stuff out. It's all of us early adopters that have to suffer.
To me, it's like introducing a species into an environment where it didn't originally happen, like a certain kind of bug, because that is good for the trees. But then you find out that there's a certain kind of monkey that really likes those bugs, so they're hanging on the trees, ripping the bark off, and the trees start to die. Well, what do we have to introduce now to fix that? Like, it does feel a little like this remote and things like it are us at the tail end of our smart things conversations, going, oh no, we need one smart thing to handle all our smart things.
Totally.
It's weird. Facebook introduced community help, which lets users offer resources like food, clothing, and maybe a place to stay to those in emergency situations. The product is meant to help rescue groups organize their efforts. And it will only be available, this is my first question about it, to users older than 18 who have had accounts for more than a few days. I would like it to be more than that. But anyway, the feature is launched Wednesday for natural and accidental disasters in Canada, the US, Australia, New Zealand, India, and Saudi Arabia, with more countries coming. I get friend requests from some accounts that are years old that are absolutely bot spam accounts.
Yeah.
I don't know why I should be comfortable with this yet, except I really like the idea of it. I'm worried about the actual implementation of it.
I think some verification, I would say offering a place to stay is a little, that's like a bridge too far. To offer, let me offer resources like food or clothing. I mean, that's tremendous. Or organize, relief supply drops or things like that. I think when you're starting to get into places to stay, that gets a little, there's some liability questions there that I think
although
it's fair to ask.
Rescue groups do organize things like that. So if you could get the rescue groups kind of in the middle, vetting people, that would be good. Facebook is putting up a screen that says, if you're accepting help from somebody, here's how to try to tell, and try to be safe. But
but if your whole house just got washed away in a flood, you're not like, okay, I'm going to go through this 7-step checklist to make sure that this person doesn't seem sketchy.
No, I hear you. It's that balance between, okay, well, otherwise the rescue organization has to do it more difficult. So we're making it easier for them by doing this. But how do we make it easier and not make it less safe than what they had before? That's the balance.
It's a really natural fit with Airbnb. And I thought it was very cool that they, in the wake of the immigration executive order, Airbnb was saying, we will offer free places for people to stay if they have been displaced or stuck in a country as a result of this order. And that's a really natural fit because the places are pre-vetted.
Yeah.
And so maybe a partnership like that would make sense. But I understand that the frenemy situation will probably not allow it.
Well, and also, Airbnb requires you to use your place and rent it out before you start to build up those star reviews. Whereas in a rescue situation, there might be somebody who's like, I never want to do Airbnb, but I don't mind opening up my downstairs room for this one case. And you want to be able to accommodate that kind of offering safely as well. Mm-hmm. Finally, Google Brain has published a paper showing how to use neural networks to create details from low resolution images. So in other words, you can give an 8x8 pixel image and turn it into a full photograph. This is a little bit complicated, but it uses a conditioning network training the software by going the other direction. They downscale high-resolution images into 8x8 pixelated results to train, and then a second network uses an implementation of the Pixel CNN project to add realistic detail to that 8x8 source image and see how close they can get back to the original. This is informed by the causal relationships observed in the conditioning network. Then what they can do is take an image that's 8x8 that it's never seen, and because it's learned how to do this, it can upscale it into a regular image. Upscaled images of celebrities fooled humans roughly 10% of the time in testing, which doesn't sound like much, but it's better than the 0% that they did before. And bedroom images passed as real 28% of the time.
Yeah, this is zoom and enhance, isn't it? This is the thing we see on CSI and laugh at ourselves.
It totally is.
Yeah.
That's all I was thinking. I was like, oh my God, those dumb shows are about to be real. I love that. I am not poo-pooing any of this.
Yeah, it's actually pretty
cool. I do want more details about the bedroom images.
Yeah, that part's a little vague, but I was gonna applaud one part of this. That is that I love this idea of reverse engineering the process of the machine learning, saying, here's a big, nice image. Now let's make it small. Now, can you remember how to, I almost picture it as like a child learning in a class for some reason, but this idea of learning it from the other direction rather than trying to interpret blurry images to start with is super interesting to me. But yeah, finally, zoom and enhance isn't so far-fetched anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a room with furniture in it. That's the bedroom images. But when you say bedroom, it suddenly implies all kinds of things that aren't part of this study.
I'm just saying.
28%, Molly, 28% of bedroom images.
28% people were like, "Oh, I know what that is." Mm-hmm.
If you go to the,
I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm sorry.
If you go to the Google post on this, or Ars Technica, which we have linked, has it too. You can see, okay, I wouldn't be fooled by these maybe into thinking they were original images, but they're not bad. Like how they go from 8x8 to a full picture of somebody's face that looks like somebody's face is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I think the government's all over that.
Hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in less than 10 minutes, subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. Now, we have a couple of discussions today. Let's start with 5G, because the big news today is that 3GPP, which is one of the organizations in charge of the 5G certification, has approved a new logo to be used on its 5G Phase 1 specs coming in late 2018. They took the green wave forms from the LTE advanced logo, the super advanced logo, and put them over the G in 5G, so there's consistency.
Whoa.
It's bad logo
Whoa.
design. Just want to throw it out there. It's not.
I was gonna say, you're a design nerd, Scott. Is this good?
Yeah, it's not good. It's basically it's weighted too much on the right. It feels like it's like it's tipping over. It's just kind of bad.
All
But,
right.
but it'll work in a pinch. It's fine.
Now,
Ironically, I'm still trying to load the image over my 4G connection, which I have tethered to my laptop for today's show because Comcast is here, hopefully fixing my internet once and for all, which is ironic because, well, the discussion.
Yeah.
But I did notice, like, just this one, it's like, nope, I don't want to load it. I can't do it.
it just can't do it.
Everything else is
Well-
fine with. But I got all excited when I saw this headline because I was like, wait, 5G Phase 1 specification logo. So still no standards then, A.
Yeah. So 5G is a little different than you might. We always think of it as faster, and 5G should end up being faster. But usually what happens with these like 2G, 3G, 4G is they're defined by the lack of backwards compatibility. They say, look, we can add new features, but only at the cost of not being able to work with the old standard. And so that's what they're working on with 5G. The main aim is not faster connection, but higher capacity. So the ability for more people to connect at once without overwhelming the network, which would even further reduce the need for any kind of data caps. Also aims to improve device-to-device communications for lower latency, which is especially important for things like Internet of Things. And the theoretical peak speed of 5G is 10 gigabits per second with latency of 1 millisecond. And that latency is another thing that's really important. They look at 5G as a way to say we can do real-time things over a wireless connection. By comparison, the 4G theoretical speed is 1 gigabit per second max. And of course, you never see that in practice. And a latency of 50 milliseconds max. Again, you don't necessarily see that in practice. In fact, average 4G speed in the United States is 19.4 megabits per second. There are efforts out there to do something called 4GX. Qualcomm has been working on that with Telstra in Australia, which would be 1 gigabit per second over LTE. That is a version of LTE, though. That is not 5G. The only 5G tests that are happening, Huawei and NTT Docomo did some field tests, which managed to get 3.6 gigabits per second for 5G in a real-world situation. So even though the max is theoretically 10, 3.6 was something they thought they could do in practice. Once you get a full network of people using it, it's going to be a little lower than that. So you could easily do gigabit per second on 5G, whereas you have to jump through some hoops like Qualcomm and Telstra are to do it on 4G. So it's not as simple as like, well, 5G will be this fast, and 4G will be this fast. It's all about the range and the difficulty, and 5G will make it easier to do faster connections, more importantly, for more people at once, so you don't get that, I've got 5 bars, why am I not connecting, and with low latency.
I would say even more importantly than the more people at once, the more devices. I think the devices thing is actually going to be the thing that people get really excited about with 5G is the possibility of it enabling. And look, we don't know. I mean, much like the rollout of the internet, if we start to see technology that can support as much as they're talking about in terms of, like you said, speed, latency, and number of simultaneous connections, then it becomes, and I think this is what a lot of companies are really excited about. I just talked to the Qualcomm CEO recently, and he was saying that what people are excited about is this as an innovation platform, this as a thing that they can invent on top of, because when you have the capacity to connect so many devices at once and so many people at once, then you start to enable a lot more innovation on wireless networks than currently exists.
So is it troubling to you at all that we're back in this place though, where we're still, I mean, it's primarily going to be used as a marketing term. 4G was used in this way by companies that had nothing resembling the 4G standard, yet they use 4G in their marketing. That's what they push to consumers. And we're now entering a new space where really it's kind of nebulous. What Tom just described just is a reminder that it's kind of all over the place and people are doing lots of different tests and nobody's quite sure on the standard. They barely got a logo. That's cool, I guess, but not much more than that. As excited as I am about that stuff, I always worry that we'll get so bogged down into calling everything 5G that nothing is 5G at that point.
I think you just don't like it because the logo's so ugly. I think that's the source of all your skepticism. No, I mean, all of that is 100% true. The rollout, the actual implementation is going to be way slower than we as consumers want it to be. And unlike 4G LTE, when it finally rolled out, it like made our phones immediately faster. We really noticed that. And like Tom pointed out, that's not exactly what 5G is going to do at first. And so it's probably going to feel, it could end up feeling even more disappointing in the short term. But I don't know, like I'm weirdly very bullish on 5G in the long term as a connection platform that enables a lot of the things that we're talking about trying to do now that just aren't, that like Wi-Fi isn't very well equipped for, that you know, rural broadband can't accomplish. Like I think that there's actually huge potential for 5G as a technology. It's probably our job to keep it from getting too caught up in the marketing.
Yeah.
On some level, you know?
One of the things I did early on when 4G came out, and T-Mobile was the greatest offender here, is they called their HSPA Plus, which was a 3G technology, 4G. Yeah. And so I made a point of saying, well, it's HSPA Plus or it's LTE because they've ruined 4G as a term. So far, 5G has not been ruined, though they're skating the line because Qualcomm and Telstra, while some people are referring to it as 5G because it's so fast, they are saying 4GX. They're not trying to call it 5G. So good for them.
They got burned.
Don't
they
encourage
really did.
Confusion.
But I think they got burned. And I also think they got, like, there were some FCC or FTC ramifications of promising 4G that wasn't 4G. So I think the companies have a better incentive this time to toe the line, also because they don't want to piss off consumers again.
Yeah, and HSPA Plus was faster than the first LTE, so I get the temptation, right? 4GX will likely be faster than the first implementations of 5G. The other side of this too is that you've got AT&T out there saying we're doing 5G tests. Well, they're doing pre-5G tests because 5G hasn't been ratified as a standard, and it won't be ratified as a standard until at the earliest late 2018. It's not expected to be rolled out until 2020. So there's always that risk of AT&T's 5G not really fitting in the spec and them having to change it. And maybe the early equipment you buy because you want to be an early adopter on 5G isn't compatible with the eventual standard, and you might have to get new equipment. I mean, think what happened with WiMAX when WiMAX was supposed to be one of the big things, and only Sprint in the United States anyway ended up using it, a couple places in Japan. So be a little leery of the 5G promotion ahead of the standard as well, I think.
Yeah. And be leery of conversations about 5G on your phone. I think that's, you know, that is a really good thing to keep pointing out over and over. Like that's not the point here.
No, but also 2020 seems to be a coinciding year for a lot of predictions about what technologies are really going to take off or get a firm hold. Things like automated driving, you know, self-driving cars are supposed to be a bigger thing. That seems to be hand in hand with a new connectivity wireless technology that all that benefits from each other. So it does feel like a bit of a convergence around 2020 for this being important to lots of devices that aren't your phone.
Yeah. So a couple milestones.
All the infrastructure communication that's going to have to happen, I think, relies on 5G, and that's a big it's a big precipitating factor.
Hundreds of thousands of devices communicating on one tower is what they're saying could be part of the 5G connection. If you're talking about sensors rather than full-on phone devices, like Molly points out. Milestones to keep in mind: the Qualcomm 5G modem, the Snapdragon X50, was introduced in October 17th, 2016. So there is a modem that can do what everyone expects to be 5G. It's not actually a standard yet. AT&T, like we mentioned, is launching 5G service in Indianapolis and Austin later this year at a theoretical 400 megabits per second. And it's also doing a 4GX-like service in other places, and that's where some of the confusion is coming because they put it in the same press release as the 5G. Verizon is testing 5G and plans to market some 5G services in 2017. But as Molly rightly points out, none of that's really phone service. That's just delivering internet using 5G point-to-point in a lot of cases. KT in Korea plans to be the first to deliver 5G to mobile phones during the 2018 Winter Olympics. And again, as a demonstration, not as a fully up and running service.
Yeah. And are we talking about, I mean, we keep bringing this up that it's not necessarily phones. Are we talking about a world where I've got some sort of box now in a studio environment that is no longer a router connected to a wired connection that is earthed somewhere to some fiber, but instead I am pulling, 5G, 5th generation internet, gigabit speed internet through the air, and that's the internet from now on. Like, that's very intriguing to me, because up to this
that's
point,
what's intriguing to me too. And that I mean, that's part of the conversation for sure, right? Because it's potentially the only way that we will actually solve the rural broadband last mile issue. And by rural broadband, I also mean developing world. Like, there's a reason everybody's investing in internet from space, or, balloons and drones that beam down internet from the sky. Like, is there a possibility that 5G could be robust enough and easily deployed enough to become a replacement for wired broadband internet?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Now, the fact of the matter is, a lot of the 5G implementations do use fiber as their backhaul. And
right.
they attach to the end. So that sort of confuses the conversation sometimes. But that said, it's still wireless from there to you, right, even if it's attached to that fiber at the end. And Google is playing around with its own version of the 5G spec. Hopefully it won't try to fork it for its flying wireless internet connections. Facebook is doing flying wireless internet connections. So yeah, I mean, the fact that you can use fewer nodes, like the nodes being able to do multiple capacity is great in urban areas where you can say, hey, the node won't get overwhelmed because we just can't put any more in. It's too dense. But it also could be great in a place where you're like, we can only fly one node around, so we need to serve a lot of people on it.
Well, and it could be, I mean, the way that Facebook and Google in particular is implementing it by building a huge fiber ring, right, in one rural area, and then essentially hopping it out wirelessly using either solar powered planes or balloons. There's no reason that 5G then can't become what's the end result of those actual flying thingamajiggers.
Now, the other thing about this,
so crazy that we talk about this, by the way. Like, I just want to go back to past me and be like, really?
Yeah.
Balloons?
Yeah, the drone idea still seems crazy to me. The idea you've got to have persistent flying objects to maintain internet is crazy to me, but whatever.
Now,
we do now, right? They're just satellites. Mm-hmm. It's even weirder that they're in space if you think about it.
It's more 19th century technology to use a balloon in a way.
The future is awesome.
We talk about these massive MIMO, multi in, multi out nodes that are being used in 5G, where they can get at the very least 16 antennas on transmit and receive for dense areas. One of the effects of that is you don't have to throttle. When we talk a lot about data caps and usage-based billing, we point out that it generally doesn't help congestion because congestion happens at a particular time. So maybe this won't change that. But there's even less of a justification because the wireless networks can rightly say, hey, our nodes get congested a lot faster than wired networks nodes do, and a lot less predictably because people are moving around. This would ease that, and it is stated in many 5G prospectuses that this would eliminate the need for usage-based billing in order to ease congestion. That would take away the need for zero rating, and we talked about zero rating on Monday. Molly, you got a chance to talk to Tim Wu, who has been actively following the net neutrality and zero rating and all of that. What's your response to the FCC in the United States? What's your thoughts on them saying, you know what, we're just going to let the marketplace take care of zero rating?
Yeah. By the way, I mean, it not for the first or the last time. That segue, freaking masterful.
Nobody does it.
What segue?
To get from 5G to net neutrality is like, the man has a gift. It's really interesting that I think that, so we had this whole long conversation about net neutrality on our new Make Me Smart podcast, Kai Risdal and I, yesterday. And then we talked to Tim Wu and we asked him what he thinks about, the new Republican-led FCC under Ajit Pai, which has not yet tackled the likely to be very thorny situation around Title II reclassification of broadband as a utility. But, wireless was already essentially exempted from a lot of the net neutrality regulations that were put into place under Tom Wheeler's FCC. Zero rating was probably the biggest loophole of all, which said there are certain services you can exempt over wireless. for whatever reason, right? And what we have seen play out in the marketplace is that they're using it for purposes of competition. So binge on, whatever Verizon's 9 thing is called, streaming you services that you really want for free. I would argue that zero rating still. So what Ajit Pai says, he stopped investigations into zero rating because he said consumers really like it. And to me, that's like, that. Sure, they love it. But you know what? Like India didn't like it when Facebook tried to use zero rating as the thing that it used to shove Facebook down the throats of the developing world. And so I think there's a very real and outstanding question over whether zero rating will continue to be the big Trojan horse of wireless net neutrality, or whether 5G can actually technologically solve that problem. And that to me seems like a pretty big claim. Like the idea that, because what we've said so far is wireless networks are fragile and they require more babysitting. That's been the reason that wireless networks have largely been exempted from net neutrality rules. And we've been talking about this for years, Tom and I. They're baby networks and they need more management. Will 5G networks really need less management? Or do wireless networks as they exist now actually need that much management? Like there's two questions happening there.
Yeah, well, and with the zero rating, the one defense is that, hey, we need to put a data cap on you because it costs a lot to add capacity and that helps us manage congestion. And that has largely, as I've said, been busted. But there is a legitimate need for managing capacity on nodes. So there's a shred of truth to it on wireless. It's not the best way to manage the congestion, but there is certainly more of a congestion. With 5G, it's like, yeah, they're fragile and they still need to babysit them, but it makes that capacity management much less of an acute problem. Yeah. And it really does take away that argument that was used in the Open Internet Guidelines this time around. And honestly, when it comes down to it, to me, it doesn't change the zero rating thing at all, because I don't believe any of the telcos, if they tell you they're doing zero rating to manage the congestion on their network, they're doing it simply to monetize the network and make money off of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing it simply because it is a way for them to justify continuing to charge you tons and tons of money for data usage. And so the way they can do, I mean, clearly they don't need to do that much management if they can provide all of this service streaming for free. And I know that there are ways that they're compressing those streams, and even Netflix and YouTube have complained about it. But the fact is, they're basically saying, and with every move that T-Mobile makes, every other carrier has to meet them. And as they continue to meet them, they basically just tear down their own arguments, right, for zero rating. It's like, oh, now we're streaming this. Now we're streaming ESPN. Now we're streaming football games. Now you can get the live 24-hour C-SPAN filibuster feed. Like, you clearly don't have a data problem. Yeah. You just want me to pay more.
So can I throw this is my analogy and you tell me if I'm wrong. It feels a little like somebody has got a knife and they cut my arm, but then say, well, we have a Band-Aid for that. And I keep getting their Band-Aids and I have to pay for the process of them continually cutting my arm and giving me a Band-Aid to cover it. In other words, it's a little bit like protection money or something.
Hey, look, we know you like Johnson & Johnson Band-Aids because you're named Johnson. But we've got this other company, MedFirst, that's paying for the Band-Aids. So if you use the MedFirst Band-Aids, they're free. Otherwise, you got to pay for the Band-Aids.
Right. Well, and that is not only is that a supremely accurate metaphor, that's exactly the problem. Like, consumers may love getting Netflix for free or YouTube for free or Spotify for free on their wireless streaming plan, but they may never know that there is a service out there that is better than Netflix or YouTube or Spotify because it has no competitive advantage. It has not been chosen to be the free thing, and therefore it cannot thrive in a competitive, truly free market competitive environment. And that fundamentally is that's the reason that zero rating violates net neutrality principles, was being investigated as a loophole that maybe needed to be closed no matter how much consumers liked it, because ultimately it's free candy, and free candy isn't good for you.
Well, what T-Mobile was doing was different than Verizon and AT&T. T-Mobile said, we'll zero rate and not charge because we think we'll make the money back with people wanting to use our network because of that. It's a backdoor to unlimited. But now T-Mobile has just gone and said, well, we're basically just going to make things unlimited, and we're going to emphasize that. Verizon and AT&T are looking at it as a way to make money and also prioritize their own service. So Verizon saying, we're gonna exempt our service and we'll charge people too, and a few people are paying for that. Yeah. But and AT&T is doing the same thing with DirecTV now. I feel that we have just enough competition in the wireless market that it's holding them back from abusing it even more. I also don't love the idea of the FCC, which is going to blow with the wind, as we're seeing, depending on which administration is in charge, being the arbiter of what's okay and what's not. I would prefer there just to be a hard and fast standard. Or if the government is going to get involved in encouraging more competitors to join the space so that I, as a consumer, can decide I'm going to go with the company that does things the way I think it should be done.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was one of the reasons that the Title II reclassification, that was like that whole situation under Wheeler leading up to the Title II reclassification was a classic case of that escalated fast. I actually don't think that full Title II reclassification was what the market ultimately wanted. Because, like you said, it creates an atmosphere where the fundamental regulatory framework of the internet can be overturned by the next guy. And so we definitely need to come up with something that's a little more lasting. I just hope that zero rating is not, doesn't continue to be a Trojan horse under that framework as well.
Yeah.
Just because we
Stop
like it.
cutting Scott's arm.
It's like free suckers.
Also, stop hurting Scott.
It's like free suckers at my dentist. I still have to pay $5,000 for the crown. Thanks for the free sucker. Like, it's not really a benefit.
Give me another cavity.
Right. Even better. There's your scenario. There's your metaphor. Use it freely, everyone.
Yeah, we're all suckers in the end. I get it.
Nice. Pew, 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 pew.
Hey, everybody. Thanks to those of you who participate in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. It definitely helps us decide what kind of stuff you're interested in us talking about. There were all kinds of zero rating stories all over the subreddit all week long. Real quickly, before we get out of here, not a reverse pick of the day like we had the other day, but a question. Mike in Weirdly Warm Atlanta says, regarding the use of password managers, which do you guys and gals prefer? Are there any cons you have found in using them? Well, the cons in general are the risk of putting all your passwords in one place. And if that place were to get breached, people would have access to all of your passwords. So that's always the downside to these. But I have to say that for my part, LastPass has been very good at being transparent when they've had issues, fixing them fast, and providing an auditable way for people to look at them and say, yeah, no, they're doing good encryption and good storage processes. 1Password has been very good as well. KeePass is a really good one, KeePass. If you want to run it yourself, if you're like, you know what, I don't want to trust some third party at all. I want to encrypt it myself on my own servers that I control. Downside there is if you're not very good at managing the servers, you could open yourself up to a breach, but that's a personal taste. I'm curious if either one of you guys have a preference regarding password managers.
I like 1Password a lot. It's just so easy, and I feel okay about all the security involved, and I like the platforms it's on, and I like the control I have over it. It's just enough and not too crazy or not too much to manage. Me running my own KeePass server of some sort sounds like a nightmare because I just don't think I would be very good at doing that in the way it should be done.
Yeah, I feel like everybody who thinks they're really good at, I mean, some people who think they would be better at it probably are better at it, but maybe not all of them. I also use LastPass, and although I have thought about switching, I've heard good things about Dashlane, and 1Password I think is better at filling in passwords on iOS. I've been using LastPass for a really long time, and even though I know it's not that hard to switch, I kind of don't want to. I have shared passwords with people, where we use the same account, and I like that I can share a password with them, but they don't ever see it. And I trust the encryption that they're using to store my passwords, so that even were they to get hacked, hopefully the hackers would only encounter a repository of totally encrypted passwords and not be able to do anything with them. And I think that probably like most people aren't going to do two-factor authentication. Most people aren't going to do the sort of secondary things that they should do. So the single best security hygiene practice that they can start with is just not reusing passwords. So I am a huge proponent of password managers for that reason.
Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. And that's it. Thank you for a wonderful episode, Molly Wood.
Oh my God, I'm so glad to be here. That was super great and fun, as always.
That was excellent. Remind folks again about Make Me Smart, because they should get smarter, and you and Kai can help them.
Yeah, we have a brand new podcast. We've only done 3 episodes. It's called Make Me Smart. You can find it at marketplace.org/make me smart. It's been super exciting. We're trying to take topics in business, technology, and culture, and recently some politics, but not a ton of politics. Mostly trying to take a thing that you're hearing about in the news and understand it better, much like this show does.
Yeah.
In a smart and balanced and hopefully thoughtful way. And we love it. And we've had a successful rollout, but we are currently, this is important. This is a note from our producer, Jenny. You know, Jenny.
Oh yeah.
She's like,
this show has an excellent producer as well as excellent host.
It does. I think you know her, one Jenny Josephson. And she's like, maybe remind them that we're being chased in the iTunes ratings by a podcast called Marketing in Your Car. So we could use all the help we can get.
Yeah, get in there and review Make Me Smart. Marketplace.org/make me smart. Scott Johnson, anything to tell folks before you're out of here?
Well, just that I listened to Make Me Smart this morning and I loved it and really glad it exists. So people really should check that thing out. But if you're looking for more of my stuff, it's real easy. Follow me on Twitter at Scott Johnson, or better yet, go to frogpants.com. Just redesigned the site. A lot easier to get around and find stuff. So go check that out. And of course, my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/frogpants.
Thanks to everyone who supports the show. If you don't support it yet, ask yourself this: was today's show worth 25 cents to you? Because if you pledge $5 a month, that's just 25 cents a show. And you also get a patron-only RSS feed with exclusive extra content and a weekly news update written by me with a recap of news and an exclusive column. So go sign up at patreon.com/DTNS. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom. Good
Nice.
show.
Nice.
Dude, I'm so impressed with my 4G LTE connection.
Right? I mean,
This
I
whole
kept
thing
waiting.
happened. I am tethered to my phone. It's not even like, this is bananas. I'm so impressed.
At the beginning of the show, I kept waiting, like, okay, I'm ready, in case something craps out with Molly. And then I forgot. I just forgot that you
forgot
were even
too.
on it. Yeah.
I remember I saw the like sweaty, fear in Roger's eyes. He was just like, I do not like this. This is not going to work. It's not a good plan.
Yeah,
And I shared some of it, and I'm like,
I
"Dang."
didn't say any of that. You might have assumed it.
I read it with my intuition in your face.
Who needs 5G?
All right.
What
Well,
is
if you
up?
want something in your face, what about some titles?
Titles.
Ooh.
We have Sweater of Things. The Sweater of Things. Enhance is finally here. The Segway Master strikes again, this time at 5G speed. Wireless networks are special snowflakes. I hate that word now. I hate that word. Freeze, rotate, zoom, focus, and enhance. Actually, it's funny is because when people talk about that, I think of Blade Runner. Back when Decker takes that photo and he puts it in the little machine or a photo scanner.
Right.
On
He does
top
the
of his
click,
TV.
click, 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 click.
Yep.
Oh,
Enhance.
enhance.
Creepy as duck. Up there. 5G Whiz. 5G by any other name doesn't go
I like
as
the
fast.
idea of 5G Whiz.
Do you?
5G Whiz. Oh,
I appreciate the Stop Hurting Scott one. That's pretty good.
stop hurting.
Brilliant
Scott.
5G now with 16% more enhance.
Brilliant.
He tried to cram all the stuff. Bad
No
weave.
bedroom images? Really? Nothing?
There's a bedroom image behind me.
Don't encourage them.
Or is it?
Fair enough. This poor, you guys, I wish that I should have just turned this camera around. This poor Comcast guy is like he's up and down the pole. It's like pouring rain out there and he's just like,
Aw.
Oh, he's doing his job.
yes.
Boom.
People who work for companies owned by Comcast, like Fandango, are pretty awesome.
Oof. Oof. Tom, it's
Wait,
like
is
I
it
hardly know
pouring
you.
right now, or is it just like rainy, not like storm rain?
It stopped pouring. It was pouring earlier.
Is he in a yellow slicker?
Mhm.
That way, in case something happens, you can
And he has
identify him.
booties. He has booties for when he comes. Yeah, when he goes sliding down the hill because the
Yeah, right.
mouse
You
goes
can
with
find
it.
him easier.
Hilarious. Okay, we're off topic.
Yeah. So what are we gonna call
Titles.
this?
I thought you wanted 5G Whiz, but creepy as duck and wireless networks or special snowflakes are at the top with 5 each.
I'm not feeling the snowflake situation
Mm.
personally.
5G
5G that
Whiz.
logo
I like
though.
5G Whiz.
It's Tom's show. Just saying. 5G
Yeah.
Whiz.
5G Whiz.
I mean, it's good. I'm not knocked out by any of these titles today. No offense, people submitting titles.
Tom's not knocked out. Let him be. Let him be.
We're all suckers. My Mo ways to make money.
Oh my God.
It's not winning. Don't ask Molly about blockchain. It's just good advice, let alone a potential
Just
title.
don't even.
Yeah. Or me, for that matter.
10% is better than 0%. 5G that logo,
Unpixelating
though?
boudoir images. It takes interpolation to a whole new level, really. Like, what is this brown mishmash of pixels, of tan brown pixels, and it's like
Creepy
a
as
picture.
Duck is great, but it was pre-show. So
It was a pre-show. I know. I don't
Yeah.
think people will get it.
the
Yeah.
sweater of things is pretty entertaining.
I feel that is, yeah.
There's something there.
It's two separate
Yeah.
topics, right?
Yeah.
The Pinterest
Yeah,
thing and
it
then
is a
the,
mashup.
I mean, that's not the worst thing, but
No.
just suggests we had a really cool conversation about connected sweaters, which in retrospect I wished we had, but we didn't.
Right. Well, I'm going to pencil in 5G Whiz.
Okay. Do you guys
And
think I
then
have mom
if,
hair today?
If you guys get struck by inspiration before I'm done exporting, let me know.
Who says you have mom hair?
Yeah. I just feel like I have mom hair today. I was just looking at it.
Well, you are a
I didn't-
mom
I
and you
didn't-
have hair.
I feel bad because I didn't risk chat. I didn't risk the chat over the 4G. So for the chat room, I'm sorry. I
That's
would
okay.
have loved to join you, but I didn't want to tank.
Didn't
I didn't want to,
push the
I
bridge
was
too far.
managing my fragile baby network.
Yeah. You didn't want to overload your capacity at 4G.
Exactly.
I'm impressed. I want my.
I am too. It's still going. Now I'm just
No.
pushing it. And I'm going to, it's going to.
Now you're just gonna get.
Well, yeah, now it's no risk, right?
Already.
Now
Yeah, I
you
was
could
gonna
get in the
say
chat
your
room.
data plan. You're gonna get charged or something.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
all
there's that.
cocky about it. I'm like, yeah, it's totally fine. No, I'm like, I better go.
Yeah. No, if you need to go, I totally understand.
I mean, I have no idea actually. So I'll just hang out because I don't know. Although I guess I will be so super sorry if the Comcast guy like takes down my internet for days.
Ooh. Yeah.
Wait, he has to take it on for days.
I don't know. They're trying to. We think that there may be a mystery splitter hidden somewhere in the walls.
Oh.
Oh,
That's
one of
causing
those.
noise on the signal. Like I thought that it was just a faulty box, but I've had issues.
Mm-hmm.
Since you
nonstop.
moved in or just recently?
No, pretty much since I moved in. There's like always some because nobody knows where the cable goes from behind the TV because the whole house was like custom
Yeah.
redone by the landlord who is a really nice person, but
you know,
was short-sighted in terms
maybe
of
didn't think about the internet as
future-proofing.
much. Yeah. Yeah. I had a similar situation with Comcast in San Rafael in that house we rented up there,
Yeah.
where the guy had to come out and go up and down the pole and test a bunch of things, and finally he tracked down what was causing the line issue.
Yeah, no, that's
It's just-
exactly, and it's
it's
been
just
happening for
aging-
2 years, basically.
Aging networks, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe a mystery splitter, but the last
Well-
guy who was here was like in all the walls. Like I had to let him into my closet in the
Oh, wow.
back, and
All my cables are underneath the house, which is good, but only one's connected. The guy who lived here before, the folks who lived here before, he just drilled a hole in the corner of the floor of each room to drop in like coax. It wasn't even through the wall where you could put a plate, just through the floor, through the bottom of the house.
I have a hole. I have a hole like that in the corner
Yeah,
that goes
but
to
I
the
have
bottom,
one in
which I
each
then had to
room.
fill with I filled it with shower silicone caulk because like ants were
Bugs.
coming in through it. I'm like, are you serious?
That's
I
what's
mean, God
causing
love
my
'em.
internet problem. The ants
Yeah,
were
I
bringing you the packets. It was
The
ant-delivered
ants
internet.
have brought a lot of packets, like just enough with the rain. Enough. All right, I am gonna go in case of the
All
now.
right.
I've scared myself on the data front, but this was fantastic. Thanks
Oh,
for
yeah.
having me.
Thank you so much. This was great, Molly.
You guys are my fave. You guys are my fave.
Yeah, you're the best.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right.
See you later.
See you later.
Adios.
Adios, amigos.
Yeah, maybe she's being 0 rated. Maybe she'll be okay.
She's being rated at 0.
Yeah,
That was it.
yeah.
We had you down for 0 internet. Why would I pay for that?
Truly neutral.
All right, I guess I'm going with 5G Whiz.
All right, I couldn't think of anything better either. It's a hard title day.
I feel bad, like, Bad Weave came up with a good title here. I don't mean to diminish it. It's a fine title. And it's the winner.
I was trying to think of a good song that had 5 and you could put G's in it. I couldn't think of one.
Ain't nothing but a 5G thing.
Jackson 5Gs. I couldn't think of anything. There are 5 Gs. You could have done that.
There are 5 Gs.
It's probably it's my 3rd or 4th best episode from The Next Generation.
It is
Top
your
5.
4th favorite. You have to stick with 4. I only saw 4 lines.
Is when what's his name takes command. That guy comes in. What's his name? The bad guy from RoboCop takes over the Enterprise as the temporary captain of the commanding officer of the ship.
Ronnie Cox, the actor.
Yeah, and he says he scolds Deanna Troy for being out of uniform because she's always wearing loungewear.
He was he played Captain Jellios or something.
Oh, yeah.
He was also in Beverly Hills Cop as the police chief.
Chief guy. And on not Die Hard, on the one on Mars, Total Recall, he's the one that died at the end with his face getting all bulged out on the surface. But he's great because he's just such a jerk on almost everything except for Beverly Hills Cop. Everything else, he's a total weenie bag, and you hate him. But he made a huge career out of that.
Being a weenie.
Okay. Yeah, out of being a weenie. But I liked him. He was cool. He was in that what's the one with the hillbillies and the banjo?
Beverly Hillbillies?
No, Deliverance. He was one of the guys that he died.
Oh, he was in Deliverance?
Yeah. Ronnie Cox was in Deliverance. It's really, really old version of, or a very young version.
What else is he? I've seen him in something recently. I mean, he's been in everything, I know, but like recently I saw him in something I was watching.
Was the one where he took over the Enterprise? That was the 2-part Borg one, right? The Locutus of Borg deal.
No, that was the one where. No, was it? I thought that was the one where Picard was captured after they tried to break into a secret Cardassian biolab.
So that's the 4 Lights one?
Isn't that one?
Maybe. I'm going to look.
He's also still alive and lives in was born in New Mexico.
Nice. Chain of
He was
Command.
in True Detective.
You're right.
He is the executive in True Detective.
Oh, no way.
That's what I saw him in. Yeah.
The new season or the first season?
The first season, 2015 season.
Oh, man. Why don't I not remember that? That's weird.
Catalast executive.
You're right. It's Chain of Command. It was a 2-parter, and it was the one where Picard was being held by the Cardassians and being tortured. You're totally right.
He was in a video short called RoboCop: Villains of Old Detroit. Oh, he was Stargate SG-1 too. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, you'd see
He's
that.
the vice president.
So many things.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been in everything.
Yeah, he was a real butt in that. Oh yeah, there it is. Deliverance. He died in the river. He was on Dexter.
He was in Cop Rock. St. Elsewhere. Wow.
Ian.
Spencer. I forgot all about Spencer.
Spencer. Oh yeah. That's a Star Trek connection because Spencer had that character Hawk, who became Man Called Hawk in his own series, who then became Commander Sisko on Deep Space Nine.
All right.
It's like a little auto.
Deliverance was one of his first gigs. So
Yeah.
only the 4th credit on IMDb.
St. Elsewhere. Yeah, he goes way back.
Yeah. Remember him as George Apple on Apple's Way?
No.
Neither.
Nope. Can't say as I do.
He was in The Life and Times of Grizzly Adams as an
Oh, sweet.
unwelcome neighbor.
All right.
That's his credit. Unwelcome neighbor.
That should be his credit in all his movies.
Yeah, it's kind of his what he got typecast as.
He was in Taps. Yeah, he's been around. Ronnie Cox.
Ah, the great Ronnie Cox.
He was the 80s villain man. Many things.
The man you love to hate.
Yep. Gee, that puts him in what? Like his 80s?
38 was when he was born, yeah. So
I was sad about Richard Hatch yesterday. I just saw him at Salt Lake Fan Fest Comic Con, whatever it was last time.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he came.
Wow.
He's at every con I've been to, including Star Trek Con in Vegas. He's been at those. He's at all of those things, and even though
he was tireless in going out and promoting Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, he just seemed really great with his fans and just
yeah,
a really good guy.
I didn't get to meet him, but I've seen him at several cons, even up close, just coming and walking around and hanging out with people.
I shook Q's hand once.
Oh yeah, John Delancey.
Yeah, he wouldn't take. I had $39 of the $40 that I needed for a portrait.
Oh,
and he wouldn't take it.
He wouldn't take $1.
No.
Do you remember him from Screensavers, Tom?
John Delancey?
No, Richard Hatch.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, he came on there. That's cool.
Oh yeah.
He came on. This was before the Sci-Fi reboot, and he came on talking about sort of creating an internet version of Reboot. He was involved with some books, if I remember right.
He was instrumental in getting this comic book started.
Yeah,
Battlestar
that's what it
Galactica.
was. Yep.
But he played. What was his name?
BioCow says for Cord Killers spoiler in time. After we're done with Justified, we should do Cop Rock.
Cop Rock. I remember that show. Did it even last a season?
I don't know.
Pop Rock. Oh my gosh. Recently. Yeah. You're right. True Detective in 2015. And something called Married.
Yeah, it does seem like he's slowing down a little bit, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Cop Rock for autopilot. No, man, I can't stop at just one Cop Rock.
Yeah, Deliverance was his third movie. Fourth movie.
Stone Cox, Ronnie Cox.
Yeah. Ronnie Cox.
What is South by Southwest?
Oh, he's so young in it.
Weird. You know, we should do another season of Autopilot and just do spin-off series like Hawk.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Called Hawk and After MASH.
We totally should.
I mean, like Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah.
I would want to go for the more like the less successful spin-offs.
Yeah.
Oh,
do Enos.
What was the one? What was the spin-off? The two spin-offs from Three's a Company. Two's a Crowd, no, Three's a Crowd, and the Ropers.
Yeah, the Ropers.
Yeah.
We Joey Ortelli's from Cheers.
Oh, right.
That was bad.
Yeah, with Cheers, you have one very successful spinoff, right? Yep. And then one horribly unsuccessful spinoff.
Yeah, and Enos from Dukes of Hazzard is a great, terrible spinoff.
Yeah. Well, when MASH, you have Trapper John M.D. is essentially a spinoff.
Yeah,
even though it's a different actor. Mm-hmm. And it was very successful, but After MASH was not.
After MASH was bad, and the one that never made it, but the pilot's on YouTube of Walter, which was the Radar spinoff.
Oh, after he left.
Terrible. Like terrible. Oh my gosh. I could barely stomach it. I watched it with my daughter because we were into MASH hardcore a few months ago. She'd ripped through the whole series and then wanted to watch that.
Only guy in the movie who crossed over to the TV show.
Yeah. Wasn't there one? No, he is the only one, right?
Yep. There might have been somebody in the pilot that crossed over, but he was the only one that stayed.
Yeah. That's another person who
Radar.
died. Father Mulcahy actor died.
Oh, yeah. That was sad. I was a big MASH fan growing up.
I was way into it.
I guess you can't do all the Law and Order spinoffs. That show's been
track of that.
That show's been longer than most like institutions.
Jamie Farr.
What about that Lost spinoff? I'm just
Found.
Yes. It was just Jack as an alcoholic in LA.
I started watching Colony. I like that.
Oh yeah, it's still on. It's coming back. I saw.
Yeah,
I haven't watched
only
it.
got a couple episodes in, but I don't know. I like it, and also I'm a little irritated that you and I are the same age as what's his name, Sawyer, John
Yes,
Holloway.
after whom our dog is named.
Yeah,
Josh
and
Holloway.
it bugs me that he continues to look like he's actually growing younger while we're.
Yeah.
It's because he made a deal with some unholy entity.
Probably. Yeah.
The portal opened and
He struck an unholy bargain.
he shook hands with an observer tentacle and he's all in.
The old ones.
Yeah, one of the old gods.
Did the old gods even provide things like that? And I thought they just kept you alive.
I don't know. Depends on which old gods. The World of Warcraft ones are.
You got to shop around. Yeah. Find the old god that works for you.
My priest told me you gotta shop around.
Cthulhu, Fatang.
So William Christopher, Wayne Rogers, Mike Farrell, Harry Morgan. No, not Mike Farrell. Sorry, McLean Stevenson, Larry Linville.
Oh my gosh, the
guy that
Brady
played
Brides.
Sidney Friedman. All those people on MASH have died.
Oh wow. I don't remember the Brady Brides.
Oh, wasn't there a spinoff of the Brady Bunch where it was just
They put this Rolling Stone article that TVZ got linked to of 10 worst TV spinoffs includes Caprica, which I feel is unfair.
It didn't catch, but it was pretty cool.
It wasn't
It was crap.
horrible. Yeah, I didn't think. It just wasn't nearly as good as Battlestar Galactica.
Well, it was such a different angle, and I mean, it almost would have been a better show. They just started with something fresh and a whole new concept, and just said, "This doesn't have to be set in the Battlestar."
Love Boat: The Next Wave. That's a good one.
Gosh,
yeah,
what?
but that's not really a spinoff as a reboot.
Is that a thing though?
That lasted for more than a season, like 2 seasons.
Is there what Mary Tyler Moore spinoffs? There were a couple of them that worked.
Oh, yeah.
Rhoda?
So like the one for Lou Grant was successful, but it was weird that it was a comedy laugh track 3 camera thing before, and then he leaves on his own show and it's like a full on drama.
Oh, well, this is actually they did have a spinoff of the original Battlestar Galactica 1980.
Yeah, that one fits. Battlestar Galactica.
That is a horrible show. It's literally they combine Chips with like a PI show, and then they just threw in some elements of Battlestar Galactica.
Oh my gosh. Hello, Larry, a spinoff of Different Strokes with Larry as an old army buddy of Philip Drummond.
Wait, which one's Larry?
McLean Stevenson. Joey. The Tortellis.
Oh, Joey, dude. Flo. We could watch Flo.
Oh, Gloria was a spinoff of All in the Family. I didn't know that one.
Yeah, that show had a lot, and some were very successful. Like Jefferson's was successful, and
There were 2. Oh, sorry, I'm responding to another J. Martin. I think there were 2 Babylon 5 spinoffs.
oh, Joni Loves Chachi.
Oh,
That
that
one
was
actually was fairly successful.
Was it?
Wasn't yeah, it's on the borderline. You could categorize it either way, I think. It had an audience for a while. And then it just went downhill really fast, I think.
There's Babylon 5 Crusade, and then Babylon 5.
Beverly Hills
Larry.
Bunts. This is a spinoff of Hill Street Blues.
Really?
Yeah. And it's Bunts, the guy, the guy with the mustache, goes to Beverly Hills. The Brady Brides. And Joni Loves Chachi's top of this list. Huh. Maybe I'm wrong. All right. Well, we have successfully published the show. Big thanks again to Molly Wood, and we'll be back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young. Not a spinoff.